The speed at which the fight world morphs from rumor to reality can feel like someone's holding down the fast-forward button on history, and if you so much as glance at your phone, you'll miss the pivot points that define careers, crush egos, and spark the all-night debates lighting every Discord channel like 1,000 neon bulbs. So let's rewind exactly to the moment the MMA internet snapped to attention. Patchy No Love Mix, the lanky submission artist who strangled Bellator's bantamweight division into quiet submission with that vice grip body triangle, finally signs the dotted line with the UFC. Diehards remember his grind through regional cards in Niagara Falls, where the crowd barely outnumbered the concession stand, the shocking guillotine he slapped on former champ Juan Archuleta, the violin-string patience that turned fast punchers into panicked swimmers caught in undertow. Now he walks into UFC 316 on June 7th, brandishing a 21-1 record, an 81% finish rate, and the calm conviction of a man who has visualized gold so many times the belt already feels warm against his hip. His target, Mario Bautista, was prepping for Chito Vera before Chito's injury scattered the bout order like a deck in the wind. But Mix doesn't care whose name is opposite. To him, Bautista is merely chapter 1 in a brand new saga, and in a 30-second social clip filmed in his Buffalo gym, he promises, eyes locked on the lens, "I'm not just coming for rankings, I'm coming for history." But while the bantamweight roster scrambles to see where the meteor lands, a different star goes supernova in Vegas. Undefeated welterweight Michael Morales, the 25-year-old Ecuadorian prodigy who grew up training in a corrugated roof dojo his dad built behind their house, steps under the main event lights for the first time and faces grizzled Gilbert Burns. Burns, once a title challenger whose jiu-jitsu could turn granite into water and whose fireworks with Khamzat Chimaev nearly broke the sound barrier, is riding a three-fight skid that feels less like decline and more like life repeatedly handing him anvils. The first round starts and Morales, usually measured, suddenly channels prime Carlos Condit, stabbing straight rights through Burns' guard, pivoting on a dime, and when he smells blood after a high calf kick wobbles the Brazilian's base, he detonates a four-punch combination that echoes off the apex walls. Burns folds, and the ref dives in, clock officially reading 3:41 of round 1. The arena roars, the undefeated streak inflates to 18-0, and Morales melts into tears as he sprints straight to his mother in the front row, her first trip to America, embracing her so hard the commission nearly has to pry him back for the post-fight interview. Still riding an adrenaline tidal wave, he grabs the mic and calls out Ian Gary, the brash Dubliner fashioning himself the next McGregor, saying, "If you're brave enough to stop talking and start swinging, I'm easy to find." The call-out only fuels online matchmakers who are already envisioning St. Patrick's Day promos and social media banter thick as peat smoke. But that's just the appetizer.
The guy that keeps talking about you also is Ilia Topuria. Do you have a message for him? He really wants to fight you next year.
No, man. I'm tired to give chance the small guys, you know.
The real entree of drama comes courtesy of Ilia Topuria, the Georgian-Spanish phenom sitting on the featherweight throne after atomizing Alexander Volkanovski with an overhand that looked telegraphed from orbit yet still crashed through the Aussie's guard. Topuria's confidence rests somewhere between unwavering faith and outright prophecy. During a Madrid media scrum, he drapes himself over the podium like a boxer in round 13 and casually declares that if reigning lightweight tyrant Islam Makhachev dares slip back to 155 after his welterweight flirtation, he can take a number like everyone else. Journalists blink, half convinced he's trolling, but Topuria doubles down. He moved up, didn't beg for favors, and he, not Islam, sets the rules now. The internet fractures. Dagestani loyalists flood feeds with eagle emojis. Spaniards counter with matador gifs, and analysts wonder aloud whether the UFC has stumbled into a cross-divisional pay-per-view big enough to punch through the paywall by sheer tension alone. Meanwhile, Jared Gordon, who has clawed his way from opioid addiction and homelessness to the bright lights of the octagon, walks into the cage against Thiago Moises carrying an underdog chip so large it might qualify as a separate corn subsidy. The fight lasts a blink, a double jab, a slicing right hand behind the ear, Moises crumples, and Gordon walks off without raising his fists, as though the outcome was preloaded. In the post-fight presser, he rattles off the ledger. Leo Santos, controversial decision over Paddy Pimblett that half the UK still insists he lost, a headbutt-marred scrap with Bobby Green, the demolitions of Mark O'Madsen and Nasrat Haqparast, and demands a top 15 name. Momentum is currency, he says, voice steady, and I just cashed 6 straight checks. That kind of resume usually buys at least a fringe ranking. But matchmaking is part meritocracy, part popularity contest, and Gordon knows both.
I want to dedicate this fight to little baby Lee, little warrior. Like, more of a fighter than any of us will ever be. But also, I woke up on...
A different brand of closure arrives hundreds of miles south in Rio, where the legend Jose Aldo steps to a microphone wearing a gray polo rather than fight trunks, shoulders free of the scarred tape that once held a nation's hopes. Aldo's resume reads like mythology. 10-year unbeaten stretch, double flying knee KO of Cub Swanson in WEC, 2 epic wars with Chad Mendes, the notorious body kick hook combination that folded Jeremy Stevens like laundry, and yes, 13 seconds of heartbreak against Conor McGregor that would have shattered lesser psyches. He recalls none of it with regret. He explains that his 2024 return wasn't a money grab, but a pilgrimage. The itch was real. He scratched it. The result against Ayman Zahabi wasn't the fairy tale ending, but it was closure all the same. I have another purpose now, he says, almost smiling, and it does not involve punching or being punched. Fans exhale, some with sadness, most with gratitude. While the curtains fall on one icon, American Kickboxing Academy's architect Javier Mendes is busy stirring fresh controversy on Tim Welch's channel. Asked to stake hypothetical cash on Topuria versus Charles Oliveira, he doesn't hesitate. Topuria by knockout, not submission, not decision, flatline. Mendes breaks down the science like a hardware diagram. Oliveira's high, narrow stance leaves his chin suspended. Topuria's compact frame lets him slip inside and land hammer-short hooks. Charles's back takedown entries leave him exposed to sprawls. And Topuria's unbreakable belief is the secret accelerator. The clip racks up 1 million views within 24 hours, and Oliveira loyalists swarm comments with reminders of Charles's record-breaking submissions and the brutal knee he buried into Beneil Dariush's sternum.
Exactly. It was only a matter of time. He was helping me in all my preparations and all my training camps. So now it's my turn to do the same that he did with me. So I can't wait to see him shine because he's so ready. Because usually the people that used to make
2 days later, TJ Dillashaw and Rampage Jackson, unlikely podcast bedfellows, tackle a different lightning rod. Arman Tsarukyan's last-second withdrawal from a title showdown with Islam. Dillashaw, who once fought Joe Soto on 24 hours' notice, calls the UFC's chilly response a punishment. Rampage labels it just business. Yet even he admits Dana White's post-presser tone felt like the verbal equivalent of a parking boot. Fans slice into 2 camps, those who argue athletes must protect their bodies and those who insist the show and the revenue must roll on. The debate juggles fighter safety, egos, and the cold math of pay-per-view buys until nobody remembers where they started. Then, as if fatigued by seriousness, the MMA universe shifts to Tom Aspinall's living room casual Q&A, where the 6'5" Brit in Nike slides sips tea and reacts to hot takes scrawled by fans. Should there be an all-PD league? He smirks and says some promotions are halfway there. Wrestlers boring? Learn to scramble? Soccer kicks? Visually brutal, but technically fascinating.
Jon Jones is probably watching this, so send him a message.
Hello, John. I have nothing against you personally, but I just think I'm better than you. I just know that I can beat you in a fight, so I'm coming for it.
Jiu-jitsu in street fights? Great if the bouncer's not about to volley your head. His answers trend for hours, partly because they drip common sense, and partly because he delivers them with a mischievous twinkle that makes you forget he could probably bench press a motorcycle. Chaos never sleeps, and at light heavyweight Magomed Ankalaev keeps poking title holder Alex Pereira like a bear with a laser pointer. Ankalaev, 19-1-1 and owner of the division's most suffocating clinch, tweets that Alex B doesn't want the yank, riffs that Gigi Prochaska is a fake ninja who needs school because he cannot read, and tags Dana White for some fish, a playful nod to Jailton Malhadinho, Almeida's seafood-themed nickname. Almeida chirps back, offering himself as Jailton Fish, and suddenly the algorithm is flooded with fan art of hammerfist tridents and sambo whales. Matchmakers, who rarely admit inspiration comes from memes, quietly add asterisks to both men's availability spreadsheets. But no social media fiasco this week eclipses Jon Jones's Instagram blunder. The heavyweight king uploads a clip of himself hoisting Hasbulla, the 3 feet 4 inches Dagestani sensation with dwarfism, and swings him playfully around a lobby like a proud uncle showing off his nephew. Within minutes, comment sections ignite. Bro, he's 22. This is Tyson all over again. a grown man carrying another grown man like a plush toy. The ridicule snowballs. TikTok stitches compare Jones's grin to a sitcom laugh track, while fight fans debate who briefed Jones's PR team and whether he genuinely thought Hasbulla was a child. Jones, who has weathered cocaine scandals, hit-and-run charges, and pulsing picogram sagas, suddenly finds himself ambushed by the soft power weapon of Gen Z cringe. Even lighthearted posts about his dog Benny fill with Hasbulla jokes. If the objective was to humanize the champ, the plan backfired into a roasting session hotter than the Vegas desert.
If I'm being completely honest, I feel like Tom's been such an asshole that I don't want to do business with him. You know, it's just like his fans have been so annoying. And obviously you don't get this far in a career being affected by fans or whatnot, but he's just...
Yet, beneath the jokes and the jabs, the gears of the sport grind on. Patchy Mix slices through 8-round Shark Tank sessions at Extreme Couture, perfecting an inside trip he swears will send Bautista airborne. Morales negotiates new sponsorships in Spanish and English, his price tag ballooning by the hour. Topuria's agents quietly request dual division champion clauses in future contracts. Jared Gordon's manager bombards matchmaker phones like a telemarketer chasing quarterly targets. Aldo flies home to Manaus to open a youth boxing academy funded with the last fight purse of his storied career. Javier Mendes rewatches Oliveira's southpaw modifications and drafts counters for the theoretical camp that may never happen. Dillashaw schedules a stem cell consultation for his battered shoulders, while Rampage films reaction videos in which he mostly just laughs at memes. Tom Aspinall signs a limited edition Funko Pop deal. Ankalaev shadowboxes in a Dagestani alpine bunker plastered with Portuguese curse words spelled phonetically. Jon Jones scrolls through mentions, maybe chuckling, maybe groaning, plotting whether a sparring clip with Hasbulla wearing oversized headgear might flip the script. Meanwhile, event coordinators juggle time zones and visa hurdles. Medical staff sift through MRI reports to confirm which cracked ribs will calcify in time. And a silent army of social strategists schedule thumbnails, hashtags, and dramatic voiceover teasers because the next headline is already incubating in a newsroom no bigger than a broom closet. In the span of a single breath, the sport has welcomed a Bellator migration, crowned a new welterweight boogeyman, dared a Dagestani champion to queue like a ticketless fan, elevated a recovering addict into pole position, closed the curtain on a featherweight god, sparked a stylistic war on podcasts, put the ranking system on trial, tested the water of rule-bending fantasies, teased Sambo versus Jiu-Jitsu fireworks, and reminded the world that social media can topple mystique faster than a spinning back elbow. Blink again and something else will detonate, because in MMA the only constant is the promise that tonight's final scene is merely the cold open for tomorrow's mind-melting saga. So keep scrolling, keep arguing, keep believing. Because while you're reading this sentence, somewhere a fighter just signed a bout agreement that will change everything you thought you knew.